Walter Williams, let me ask you about socialism. You know, Bernie Sanders is out there pushing socialism. They don't call it socialism because they know that word's not popular, but that's what it is. They're pushing some form of socialism. Free college, free health care. They talk about Scandinavia. Does socialism create wealth and opportunity and success?
Well, we might first start off with what is socialism.
Yeah.
And socialism or communism is government ownership and or control over the means of production. And in that sense, we have a lot of socialism already in our country, and we find people asking for more of it. But if you look around the world, and you ask, in what countries are people better off? Let's say you have a higher per capita income, and that is if you can rank countries towards countries on the free market end of the spectrum towards it, and countries on towards the socialist end of the spectrum, you'll find that the countries towards the free market, their people are richer. And also, it's something else that's rather remarkable. If you rank countries according to Freedom House or Amnesty International, you find greater protections of personal liberty in those countries towards the free market or the capitalist end of the economic spectrum. And if you want to find poverty and abuse and human rights violations, you find them in the socialist/communist countries all over the world. And so anybody asking for socialism in our country, they're really asking for us to be less free. And we have a large amount of socialism right now. We're not nearly as free as individuals as we used to be. And just one argument here is that the founding fathers of our country, they went to war with the most powerful nation on the face of the earth because they did not want to work 2 weeks for King George. But you and I, we're working 4 months of the year in order to pay taxes.
Do you think part of the problem here is branding, marketing, the lack of articulate conservatives among many of the political leaders in the Republican Party or on the right? I mean, I rarely hear them talk about first principles, individualism, liberty. You know, we talk about millennials, how so many of them are liberal, but they're also, in many respects, anti-authority. And we don't explain our ideas and our philosophies. When I hear Republican leaders in Congress talk, they're talking like, you know, they're GS-13s at the Department of Education or something or other. The left is out there pushing their ideology, which, I'd like your opinion on this, I think is dressed up as populism. But in the end, it has nothing to do with it. It's all about centralization and iron-fisted control. But so-called conservatives and Republicans, they don't even counter this stuff. Am I right about that?
I think you're absolutely right. And I think that the real job that we have that confronts us is to somehow be able to sell our fellow Americans on the moral superiority of personal liberty. We have to convince our fellow Americans on the moral superiority of personal liberty and its main ingredient, which is limited government. You know, the average American, he hides the kind of tyranny from himself. You know, for example, let's say that there's an elderly lady down the street. She can't mow her lawn. She doesn't have enough money to pay somebody to mow her lawn. And you ask the average American, would you support the government forcing someone to go down and mow her lawn each week? He said, no, we wouldn't do that. Or you say, well, would you support somebody having to go down at the end of each week and pull money out of his wallet to give her money? They say no. But you ask, well, what about if we all put our money in the government pot? And the government sends money out to this lady. Oh, they say, well, that's different. That's okay. But all these three examples I just gave involve the forcible use of one person to serve the purpose of somebody else. But that's what the American people want. Too many of us want that, the forcible use of one person to serve the purpose of somebody else. And that's, by the way, a very good working definition of slavery.